Welcome back. Today we're going to take a look at how to cut our Jam 7 part on a CNC mill. We're going to run our tool pass, and there's going to be three of them for us. We're going to have one where we're going to cut out the bottom or the top of this platform here and the top of the rib. We're also going to have another one where we cut these holes that are in each of these circle areas for the material. And then our third one is a contour cut, which we're going to cut around the perimeter of this part, but we're going to use tabs so it doesn't fall out of the clamp in our mill. To begin, come on along to our Inventor home screen. I'm going to come up to the top to the ribbon bar and select Open. If it's not already identified, I'm going to select my H drive, first initial last name 000, all the way down at the bottom, and then I'm going to scroll down and find my 7 jam part and click Open. Okay, once our part loads up, I'm going to select Cam from the ribbon bar at the top, way up above in the tab area, and I'm going to select Setup from the ribbon bar. For setting up this part, a little bit different for us. We want to make sure that our origin says Stock Box Point, and I want to click that lower left-hand corner that you see in the front here. Next, moving across to my stock setup, changing this on us a little bit. We're going to change this from relative size box to fixed size box. Fixed size box. And I'm going to have my width. I'm going to highlight that and I'm going to change it to 8. I'm going to have my depth, highlight that, change it to 4. And on my height, I'm going to highlight and change to 0.75. That's the thickness of my part. So once again, new for us a little bit, fixed size box, change your width to 8, depth to 4, and your height to 0.75. Final tab in our setup is where we enter in our program name. So we're entering our part name, 7 jam, and then put your last name after that. And then click OK. Okay, to cut this, we're going to start off with 2D contour, and we're going to cut the top of our platform off here and the top of our rib. So let's come up to the top, 2D pocket. We're going to identify our tool. Now remember, if this is collapsed, this model browser over here, if it's collapsed, pull on the side of it, get your cursor on the side, and let's expand this a little bit to get that moved out so we can see all of our tabs. Okay, we're going to identify our tool. Click the tool button. Two ways you can do this. Come down to Sample Libraries, choose End Mills, and we want to select Tool 2 1/4 inch flat. Or you can scroll all the way down to the bottom, Butler MS Tool Libraries, tool number 2 1/4 inch flat, they're the same. Click Select. You can see our tool hovering over our origin there. Let's move across to our next tab where we're going to select our geometry. And here we want the top of this platform on this side, the top of the platform on this side, and I want the top of that rib also. So all three of those areas should highlight blue. Okay? Make sure you're clicking the tops of each one of those areas, not the side in here. Okay? Let's move across to our heights and establish these. Clearance height, model top, and we're going to change to 0.2 for our offset. Once again, model top and 0.2 for the top three here. Okay, clearance height, retract height, feed height, all model top 0.2. Move across to our next tab where we establish our passes. This is quite a bit of depth that we're cutting in here, so we're going to select multiple depths. And our maximum roughing step down distance right here, we're going to change to 0.25. Scroll down, and I want to uncheck stock to leave. So I want this to cut right up next to that circle, right up next to the rib, and right up next to this other circle. So no stock to leave, uncheck that box. Our last tab, uncheck lead in, uncheck lead out, and we're going to change our ramp from helix to plunge. We'll just plunge cut down straight on that. Once you're finished with those items, select OK. So now we have this top of the platform, top of the platform, top of the rib cut out. Next we're going to come in and we're going to cut these holes here. In order to do that though, we need to come over to our navigation bar on the right hand side, select our rotate tool or our orbit tool, and I'm going to click in the middle of that circle and swing this around just a little bit so I can see the bottom edge of that hole. To let go of my rotate tool, I can either press escape on the keyboard or I can click my rotate or orbit tool here in the navigation bar on the right hand side. Okay, now we're ready. Let's select 2D pocket. 2D pocket from our 2D area, 2D milling area of our ribbon bar, and let's re-identify our tool. I'm going to come all the way down to the bottom. I'm going to find that tool once again, tool 2 1/4 inch flat, click select. For my geometry tab, I want to come into the bottom down here. Oops, big mistake. Don't choose the bottom surface. We want just the bottom inside edge of that hole and the bottom inside edge of this hole as well. Okay, make sure you're not clicking the bottom surface of that area. Okay, we just want the inside area of it. Okay, next let's establish those heights again. And we're getting pretty good at these. That's model top and point 2 is what we're selecting. Model top and point 2, and model top and point 2. That's for these top 3 areas. Clearance height, retract height, and feed height are all model top and point 2. Moving across to my passes tab. That is quite a bit of depth there. That's 3/4 of an inch thick, so we need to take that in multiple depths. Okay, otherwise it's going to put too much strain on that bit and might break the bit. I'm going to take and maximum roughing step down distance. I'm going to change to 0.25. And I want it to cut right to the outside edge of this cylinder, so I'm going to have no stock to leave, so uncheck stock to leave. Multiple depths is checked, 0.25, have to do that, too much strain on the bit, could create it or make it break. 3/4 of an inch thick, got to take that in multiple depths. Okay, next let's move across to our final tab, linking parameters. We're going to come down where it says lead in, uncheck that, lead in, unchecked, lead out, unchecked, and we also are going to take and plunge these. Okay. Once you're finished with that, select OK. And now for our fun one, I'm going back home for this one. Now for our fun one, what we're going to do is we're going to do that 2D contour where we're going to cut around the outside edge of this. We're going to re-identify that tool. Once again, that's 1/4 inch, tool number 2, 1/4 inch flat. Click select. I'm going to go across to my geometry tab. And for this, I'm going to get that bottom edge of my part way on the back. See it highlighted in red back here? That's what I want to select. Moving across to my heights, establish those again. Each one of these goes to model top and point 2. Okay, I'll give you a second to do that. Going across to my next tab. For establishing our heights, I'm going to check multiple depths, because after all that's 3/4 of an inch thick, right? We're going to take that maximum roughing step down distance, 0.25. Okay, so once again in this 4th tab over, we want to come down, we want multiple depths checked, change your maximum roughing step down distance to 0.25, and let's go across to our final tab. Okay, in here where it says lead in, we're going to uncheck that. We're going to lead out, uncheck that, and our ramp style, we can have that off. Okay. Now the one thing that we definitely want to do on this, and everybody's going to come with me, we're going to come back over to our geometry tab. We're going to click on that, and in here we want to make sure that you come down and you have this tabs selected. Okay, you know that tabs is selected when you have these little boxes that pop out here. This allows us to cut this part and contour it. It leaves these little tabs in here that will break off later. But this leaves us so that we can have it clamped into the mill without it coming out of the mill. Okay, so we went across all the tabs at the top, came back to our geometry tab, and we want to make sure that this tab option is selected. And then click OK. Next, let's take and simulate this. So click Simulate. Let's turn our stock on right here. and you're going to click play. It's going to come around, it's going to cut your areas for that base, the top of your rib. It's going to bore out those two holes that are on each side, and then it's going to come around and contour cut the outside of your part. Let it play through. Okay, now we're going to get our rotate tool. We're going to rotate this up just a little bit so that we can see those awesome tabs that are sitting in there. Click your rotate tool again to let go of it. This is where you're going to take and make a screenshot of this. There's going to be a spot in Google Classroom for you to turn this in. Take a minute right now, stop, take a screenshot. That gets turned into Google Classroom. Okay, once your screenshot is done, let's go up to the top, finish this off. Let's select Post Process. We're going to make sure that this is going into our H drive. So this gray box right here, we're going to click. We're going to scroll all the way down on this left-hand side and select your H drive. First initial, last name, 000 has the gray box and your green line. Click Select Folder. We have our part number right in there, 7jam and your last name. Click Post. Click Save. Then we're going to X out of this file editor. Top X button up here. And the last thing we want to do is go to the orange file, and we want to go down and save. And that updates our part that has these toolpaths on it. Great job. Please don't forget to turn in that screenshot that you took of your toolpaths to Google Classroom. The next drawing is going to be of, or the next video is going to be of creating the drawing for this part and then creating a standard ID